Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. This is your Midday Market Report for Thursday, November 17th, 2022. I had to think for a second. All these days are just running together. There is so much sports going on. I mean, we got college basketball probably from now through Thanksgiving in the afternoons, NFL tonight, college football, a game, two games actually, NBA, NHL, World Cup on Monday. Got an opportunity. We reached out. I was blessed and honored last Thursday to be a part of the Cash Consideration Show. Just beat my 2-year anniversary. So that was great. Dan Alexander, a big part of, with the mayor himself, Mr. Dave Sharapan, of course, Carl Haskell. I got to talk sports, life, sponsors. We won't go into some of the sponsors that we're talked about, but it was just an amazing time. Had so much fun. And the Premier Lacrosse is over, but why not bring in the man from Philly who had the Phillies, who has the Eagles, who has the Sixers? He is the heartbeat of Philly himself, the one and only Mr. Dan Alexander.
Happy to be with you, Jeff. And yeah, I dressed up a little bit for the occasion. I was just fresh off a Hosting Sports memo today. So I figured, hey, why not? I'll leave the blazer on. I'll zhuzh it up. I see you got the suspenders on. So we clean up pretty damn good. But it was awesome, JD, having you on Cash Considerations last week. Awesome guest. And yes, we talked some games, so it's not all evergreen. But if you want to check out that show, you can find it wherever podcasts can be found. The Apple Podcast app, Spotify, wherever you download your podcast. Cash Considerations probably on there. And it was a terrific about hour and 15 that we had with JD. I think my side still hurt from laughing, not just doing the episode, but listening back. So happy to be with you, man. Thanks for having me on.
It had been almost 2 full years. I was guest number 3 of the start, and where the show is now, I was sitting there in awe. I mean, I was busting gut trying to keep the serious face, but I was peeing my pants. It was hysterical.
Yeah, that's what happens. The show starts off the rails and it just ends up in the woods, Jeff. So it definitely, you never know what we're going to be bringing up there on the Cash Consideration, but it's a fun listen too. And, in today's day and age, people are watching your show because they need that actionable info. They need to feel like, they're getting good information on betting. We've had a good NFL season. We're profitable on all of our picks. I had a bit of a down week going 2-5. You came in with a profitable record on your selection. So we give people that actionable info, and all the in between is us busting each other's chops, us breaking into God knows what in Carl's corner. So I'm glad you came on with this because it's one of my funnest things that I put on and I work with. I love working with Dave. CH adds a great mix under the show as well. So I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully people check that out. Not just the episode that Jeff's on, but every week we usually record Wednesdays, Thursdays, get you that info and some laughs for the weekend.
NFL, not for long. You 8-0, you come off a bye week. And, for some teams, a bye week is just what the doctor ordered. In some weeks, when you're rolling, you just want to keep on rolling. You get to listen to everyone who's already talking 1972, the Miami Dolphins, the perfect seasons. I can relate to 2007 when the Pats made it all the way to the Super Bowl, eventually losing to the Giants undefeated. 11-point favorites against Taylor Heineke, no Chase Young, and yet a ruckus crowd where the public looks at it and they can go back to week 2 or 3 when the Vikings came into town and you guys rolled them. Take us back. You were at the game. You were there. You bought the hype. You bought the cheesesteaks. You were there live. What'd you see and what was your take from it?
Well, I may have bought the hype. I may have bought the cheesesteaks. I may have had one or two cervezas as well. But the one thing I didn't buy was the Philadelphia Eagles laying 11 points in a divisional matchup and a Monday night football game where we know Monday nights they can get a little bit herky, a little bit jerky. So you and I both on the Cash Considerations podcast were saying, sure, Eagles might win this game. They might stay undefeated, but 11 points in a divisional game, probably a little bit too steep. I also was higher than probably the market and most people on the rush attack for the Washington Commanders. Typically, they'll get 3 yards, cloud of dust here and there. I think bringing Brian Robinson back was a nice boon to that rushing game, and they were just able to control the clock. You're not going to win an NFL game. I said after the game, you might be able to overcome some bad calls. You might be able to overcome some crappy play. You're not going to overcome them both, especially in a divisional game with a team you let hang around 40-20. That's 40 minutes possession time for the Commanders, 20 minutes of possession time for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a concerning stat, Jeff, because coming up over these next few weeks, this week, the Eagles will be playing a resurgent rush team in the Indianapolis Colts, and Jonathan Taylor, who finally looked healthy last week, that should be giving them nightmares. Sure, they go out there, they get Linval Jones, they get Ndamukong Suh was just signed today, but how ready are those guys going to be on Sunday? So I think it could be a long day for Philadelphia Eagles fans again coming up this weekend. And then right after that, you're going to be having a Green Bay Packers rush attack that's shown that they're able to control the clock. Look at what they did against Dallas, and Dallas is the defense that everyone considers is top 10, top 5, however you want to put the metric on. Everyone's in love with that team. And Green Bay made them look like a high school defense, down 14 points in the fourth quarter, a spot where the Cowboys had been undefeated in. They end up losing that game outright. So now you have a Green Bay team that you can't just chalk up as a win. They still have 2 games against the Giants and Saquon Barkley left on this schedule. And a huge part of the Giants being good this year was the resurgence of that run game. So I think there is a lot of concerns down the stretch here. And oh yeah, you have to play a Bears team that also the only thing they can do is run with their quarterback, and even bad running quarterback. Kirk Cousins was one of the leading rushers when the Eagles played them back in week 2. So if people thought you were going to be having a parade early, I never saw that with this Philadelphia Eagles team. And I think what happened last week against Washington was some of my fears realized. Now, can they bolster up that pass or that rush defense? You hope so, especially when you have your pick in Jordan Davis coming back in the middle there. He should be back by that Titans game. They are going to be playing a lot of teams that can run the ball, Jeff, and if they don't figure out that rush D, you're going to be looking at a team who ends up with 4 or 5 losses on the year after going to start the year 8-0.
You know, I look back to a couple of years ago when Tom went to Tampa, and they were 5-4 heading into the break. They win the last 5 games of the year. They get to the playoffs, 11-point favorites in Washington. They beat them. They go to the Saints, 2.5-point dogs. They beat them. Then they go to Lambeau Field, 3-point dogs, 2.5-point dogs, and beat them. And then they go on to win the Super Bowl. Now, I'm only bringing up Tom because it's not what you do in September and October. Nope. It's how you start to play after you break November and December. So you come out guns a-blazing 8-0. You are now got a bullseye on your back. And it's usually you and Dallas and a cloud of dust. Washington and the Giants are out of it. A couple of years ago, Washington was hanging around. It's the exact opposite where all 4 teams are still in. This Commanders team is now 5-5. A Giants team that's only got a couple losses. Dallas, tough loss last week. Now they go to Minnesota, who no one wants to talk about, who is the same record as you guys. And now, as a Philly fan, as someone that's in our lanes that eats, drinks, and sleeps this, as you just put it out to us so perfectly, are you more concerned moving forward with, hey, we got to win this division. We need the number 1 seed. We want the bye. Come to Philly in January. Good luck. Or is this more now a week-to-week basis? Let's pump the brakes here and just take this damn thing 60 minutes at a time.
They need to bounce back. If you have back-to-back losses in the fashion that just happened, against a Colts team that was just dead in the water. Like we were talking last week about what a joke it is that Jeff Saturday was hired, and he goes in and he basically says, yeah, you guys should probably fire Josh McDaniels if you're the Raiders. And the Raiders say, we owe him too much damn money to fire him. We're stuck with this guy for this year, the next year. So this is really I think your question is a good one, and it's twofold, because yes, you have to start taking this week by week. And for this week, the number one thing that you have to do, you have to find a way that Jonathan Taylor doesn't completely ruin your day, because I'll be betting him every which way. Until the Eagles show me that they can stop the run, why would I not take Jonathan Taylor over 1.5 touchdowns? Why would I not take Jonathan Taylor over, let's say it's probably going to be posted even in the 70s or high 80s rush yards? He probably goes over that too with what we've seen from this rush defense. And I don't know how you correct that, not only following a game, but Jeff, it's a short week for the Eagles, and short week where they're going on the road. They're going to be playing an Indianapolis Colts team that is in a very profitable trend spot, where they just won on the road as an underdog, and now they're coming home and they're an underdog again at home. There's going to be juice in that arena. And let's not forget, even when the Indianapolis Colts were completely buried on the trash heap, they beat a Kansas City Chiefs team at home when nobody gave them a fighter's chance in that game. So they have a very real home field advantage. I'm worried about this Eagles team, and I think the line reflects it. Look ahead in Eagles in this Colts game was 10. Eagles were 10-point favorites. During that Monday Night Football game, it starts chugging on down. It's down to 7. It's sitting at 7. It's dipped down to 6.5. So, sharp bettors and public bettors are going to be all over this Colts team. Eagles really need a bounce back here, Jeff. But to answer that first part of your question, they also, if they want to have success in the playoffs, need the 1 seed. They need to have things going through Philadelphia, because they are a completely different team on the road. Jalen Hurts is a starter, only 5-10 against the number in games that he is away from Lincoln Financial Field. You flip that, he's an incredibly profitable quarterback on their home field. It didn't work out last week, but this Eagles team needs to figure it out in a hurry. They've already had their bye week. They've already had their Thursday night game that gives them a quasi bye week. And honestly, I would argue that hurt them, because they ended up playing 2 games in nearly a month's time. And you know what they looked like on Monday Night Football, Jeff? They looked like a team who played 2 football games in almost a month's time. So I think getting back into the flow of things, getting on the road will be good for this team. I don't know if I'm laying 7 with them on the road against a energized Indianapolis Colts team. How have you kind of been seeing with the market moves on this game, or is this just kind of going to be a stay away? What do we know about Jeff Saturday?
Yeah, this to me is, if it's 6.5, I'm buying the hook. I'm taking the Colts plus the 7. I'll sprinkle a little something on the money line, a little pizza and beer money, because this sets up, again, pretty good for the Colts. My one concern is if your outside edge rushers are putting a lot of pressure on Ryan, and then he starts throwing pick 6, you get out early, they're playing catch up. That takes the ball out of Taylor's hands.
But to that point, if you're the Colts, you're probably not dropping back much with Matt Ryan, right? Why would you not run the ball? I mean, you have Jonathan Taylor looking like he was 100%. I think if you are Jeff Saturday and the Indianapolis Colts, a way that I'm probably going to attack this game is under Matt Ryan passing attempts, probably hit under Matt Ryan yards, because they can win the game while still having the training wheels on Matt Ryan. I think more so when they drop back to pass, it's going to be to keep this defense honest, that they're not able to just load the box. For what it's worth, Jonathan Gannon hasn't shown an ability to load the box or a want to do that, even in a game where he was getting gouged on the ground. So I'm with you. I would love our pass rushers, and traded for Robert Quinn. I don't even know if he's been out there yet. It seemed like the only thing that you see is his horse collar on the back. You don't really see him taking down the quarterback. So would love that pass rush to come alive. I just don't know how much they have to drop back the pass to win this game if you're the Indianapolis Colts. I think ground and pound. You keep giving me 3 yards. Guess what? If I do it 3 straight plays, pick up 1 4-yarder in there, I'm moving those chains again, and I'm keeping Jalen Hurts on the sideline.
Back in the years, you had Zach Ertz and Godart. Zach went over to the Cardinals. Tough play for Godart, face mask that wasn't seeing the fumble, then injures the shoulder, goes on the IR. And of course, on one of my better fantasy teams, I'm left with a big hole there. Can you tell me who's the next man up, or the thoughts, or the word on the street in Philly, who's going to replace him?
So they have a draft pick in Grant Calcaterra, who's seen more plays when they go into 8-man sets. Really not many targets to speak of. However, the Eagles have done a good job having tight end depth over the years. You think about Brent Selleck, you think about Ertz that you just mentioned there, you think about Goddard. Yes, they always have that one guy, but they've always had some people waiting in the wings as well. Jack Stoll, for what it's worth, who will be elevated and really be this team's number one tight end, he already has a touchdown on the year. So yes, it's only one touchdown, but he's been in passing down sets. He's been in opportunities, and also the Eagles have enough weapons elsewhere. I don't think that this Dallas Goedert injury is the end all be all. The thing that's more concerning to me is AJ Brown. After the first play or first series of the game, he comes up limping. He clearly wasn't 100%. There was a play that hit him right in the breadbasket. He comes up and, grabbing at that hammy a little bit, and the ball ends up being intercepted. And then this week too, Devontae Smith pops up on the injury report. So it's not just the injury to the high profile Dallas Goedert that really has me concerned. It's that cluster injuries for a receiving core that Jalen Hurts has done a terrific job distributing through the entire core all year long. Injuries in the NFL aren't what's going to kill your team. One injury, you still have a pro that's behind it that's going to be able to play at a decently high level, maybe not the output of Goddard. What is going to kill you in the NFL is when you have cluster injuries at different positions or cores. If this wide receiver core can't be healthy, that automatically makes this offense less dynamic. And then you look at the other sideline, you're starting to have some injuries that are clustered on that defensive line, and you're also having injuries that are clustered in that secondary. I think something that's really going under the radar is the injury and the being placed on the IR of Avonte Maddox. That's the slot cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles. That now left Darius Slay having to play a little bit out of position. Scary Terry McLaurin eats his lunch all night long on Monday Night Football because he's having to play a little bit out of position, because he's having to travel around the field. You saw Bradbury come back down to earth. The nice thing is they still have Gardner in the back end of that defense. He leads the NFL in interceptions. So people are going to talk about Goddard, rightfully so. I'm more concerned, what does the rest of this roster look like? Because I think they've done a good job building depth at positions, and that remains to be seen. Can you survive without a Dallas Goedert eating up targets across the middle? We'll see this week, but I think I don't hate the fact that Jack Stoll has already been in 12 personnel and passing downs. It's not like he has to completely reinvent the way that he's been preparing for all these games. He's just probably going to see a higher target share.
We tiptoe over to Lambeau Field, the resurgent Green Bay Packers out for twice down 14. The Dallas Cowboys 195-0 after leading by 14 heading to the fourth quarter. Typical McCarthy. I thought there was some coaching blunders there. The emergence of Christian Watson, who just, man, he's got speed to burn, and he had a big day, 3 touchdowns there. An under-over tonight of 41. This line's now creeping to 3.5 everywhere, or you're going to pay some high juice, -3, -120, -125. My concern is I think the whole world's on Green Bay. They're back, a la Tom Brady, who won their last 2 games. They're back. No one talking about a Tennessee 6-win team with O. Henry, which Green Bay has a hard time stopping the run. A Titan team number 2 against the rush, so that dynamic duo of Aaron Jones and Dillon could be slowed down. What are you seeing tonight in Lambeau Field?
I'm seeing that this is a tough game to bet if you're talking as far as the side goes, because do we want to believe what we saw in Green Bay last week, or do we want to believe what we saw with Green Bay all year long? The thing is, is these are two teams that you could make an ATS streak for either of them. You look at Green Bay, they're going to be a home favorite tonight. Green Bay 0-5 in their last 5 games as favorites against the spread, and they're playing against a team that no one ever really talks about, Jeff. I think you kind of alluded to it. All this Tennessee team does is cover games and play good games when you think they're going to be dead. They are on a 7-0 run against the number, and that's playing some pretty darn good teams in that stretch. So I don't know. As far as the side goes, I would lean Green Bay because I think last week you saw some building blocks of things that they can build upon. One of which is if Christian Watson can actually catch balls, that guy's going to be pretty damn good. We've seen him drop a lot of open ones in the field. You can bet him over his longest reception at 19.5 yards. You know he's going to get a deep ball targeted to him. It's just, does he catch the damn thing? If he does, that could be a prop to add to your card. I think for Green Bay, a prop that I added yesterday, I'm not sure if it's ticked up yet, A.J. Dillon, running back for Green Bay. He rotates through with Aaron Jones as well. He has a number of his receiving yards at 8.5. This is a Tennessee Titans game or Tennessee Titans team that if you look at how they have done against running backs in the passing game, that is a terrific way to attack them. A.J. Dillon has also gotten at least 2 targets in each of his games this year. So you're telling me 8.5, he gets 1 target, breaks 1 tackle. We could go over that even if he only gets 1 target. So I think for tonight, I would probably attack it more in prop bets, yardage or receptions. Everybody and their grandmother is betting Derrick Henry over his rushing yards. The thing opened at like 96.5. Jeff, the number's at 99. And people are still betting over. I think like 90% of the bets are him over. He probably goes over that number, but the contrarian me wants to say, screw all your guys' prop bets on the over. Let's have some defense and go that under. If it goes triple digits, I think just categorically, Jeff, I have to go under on Derrick Henry, and I'll be the a-hole that everybody's saying, you went under? He had 150 rushing yards. If that thing hits triple digits just off of principle alone, my contrarian butt's got to go under that one.
No, I agree. And I said on a previous show this morning that Tennessee wins if Tannehill wins the turnover battle, number 1. Number
Good
2,
point.
Henry's got to get 150 or more. That's the number that I set in my head. Now, listen, 3rd and 4th quarter, cold Lambeau Field, you see this freight train running at you, and you're just looking for a teammate that wants to take the initial hit because I don't want to. This guy running downhill, forget about it.
Well, and what's their other option? What are you going to do? Pass it? Air it out with all your real stout passing options. You know what I mean? They got rid of A.J. Brown. Thank God they did, because the Eagles wouldn't be having the year they did if he wasn't on the Philadelphia Eagles. But what's your other option other than grinding it out on the ground with Derrick Henry? And let's be candid. Mike Vrabel was very candid in the way that he talked about how this team plays. The first time I've ever heard a head coach in the NFL straight up, I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago, Jeff. I don't know. You're a quote reader much like myself. I don't know if you saw the one where Mike Vrabel said, yeah, I would be betting unders on this team because we plan on running the ball and running the ball well. So 41 is the number tonight. It's going to be cold there. Does Green Bay's offense stay as hot as it does last week? If you don't think it does, 41, maybe that's worth a look. If you think Tennessee is going to sit around in this game, it's not a plus EV play, but why not do a same game teaser? Take Tennessee up to 9.5-point underdogs, take that total up to 47 and go under it. You can get that around minus 115 on some different books since it is a non-advantage teaser. So if you want some action on the game, I got A.J. Dillon over 8.5 receiving yards for you. I like Christian Watson to go over his longest reception at 19.5. And why not, if you think Green Bay is going to stick around in the game, same game tease them up. Or if you really want to get negative EV, Why not just tease right through 0? Everybody tells you can't do that and win. If Green Bay loses, what? Do they lose by a touchdown or do they lose by a field goal? Tease them through the 0, have them +3, and take that under up to 47.5. But I definitely wouldn't be rushing to bet over in this game, even at the number posted 41 or a tease on down to around 35. I wouldn't be touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Decent card this week. The headliner obviously is looks like the NFL trying to move the Bills and Browns game to Detroit on Thanksgiving. The Bills play the Lions there, expecting 6 feet of snow. So even if they tried to play there, the Browns might not be able to get back to Cleveland probably till Tuesday or Wednesday. A couple other games, obviously the Pats and the Jets, a big headliner down my way. We talked about Dallas and Minnesota in your division. A giant team hosting the Lions, looking to win back-to-back, which, again, has a lot of divisional meaning for you. Anything grab your attention going into this week's card on Sunday?
Honestly, usually by this point in the week, Jeff, I usually have all of my NFL bets made, or I at least have a short list drawn up of where I'm eyeing. I think this is the week of pescatarianism, I'll say, because there's a hell of a lot of fishy stuff going on in the marketplace this week, Jeff. I mean, with this Dallas game, Dallas, Minnesota, Dallas, the road favorite, we kind of alluded to that, 1.5. So Minnesota, I would look at them in a teaser leg, but now Kirk's not playing at 1:00. So the strange thing to me, though, is the books open this number as Dallas as a 2-point favorite, right? On Monday morning, that's what we see. And we've really seen nothing but Minnesota money yet now what, just 1.5 for Dallas. The fact that they open them as favorites, knowing that Dallas is one of the most public teams and people will rush to bet Dallas, no matter if they're laying, no matter if they're getting, that just makes me say, a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I look at this Minnesota side and it almost seems like it's so square to just say 8-1 team getting points at home that it's almost sharp, because I haven't seen anybody make a case for Minnesota this week. So, like, you are one of my favorite people that studies how these markets move. One of your favorite thing to do is just look at where this team's coming in and either buck that or say somebody knows something. To quote our guy Dave Sharapan, I look at a 1.5 favorite for Dallas, and I say nobody knows skadoosh in that one. So I don't know what that line stands out to me more than anything. So what did you think when you saw Dallas opening up as favorites? And are they begging us to take Minnesota, or are they setting themselves up for maybe a Minnesota 1-point win and the books cleaning house because they know everybody and their grandmother is going to be on Dallas?
You know, I looked at this, and first of all, a Minnesota team at 8-1 that no one's getting any respect to.
Yeah.
A team that last year I think was like 0-7 in one possession games. They were right there and they just couldn't win. They fired the coach. They bring in a new coach. They're winning those games now. I look at it this way, and I say, okay, Dallas plays coming off the loss in Lambeau Field. Then they play Thursday at home against the Giants. The Vikings somehow, someway, miraculously beat the Bills. They come home to face a Dallas team, and then on Thursday face a dangerous Patriots team, who Minnesota's only 3 or 3.5 point favorites to next Thursday in the look-ahead line. Per the mayor, Dave, I love you to death. Why is this? And he says very simply this. If you open it at a pick, you're going to get the onslaught for Dallas. So why not open up Dallas -2? They're going to come in initially to Minnesota, but they're still going to bet Dallas anyways.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's great point as always from our guy Dave. The other one that stands out to me too is as just absurdly fishy of a line is what's happening in this where I had it pulled up here, this New York Jets and New England game, which is why I'm glad that this will probably be the last one you and I hit on here, because I'm your Philly guy, you're my up north guy, and the Patriots have just run this Jets team ever since Bill Belichick has been the coach. I mean, all they do is just run up on them. They're constantly giving noogies to them like they're the little brother. Yet I see so many people in this marketplace loving the Jets at 3.5 on the road in New England. And when it's cold, New England knows, hey, if we just tie one arm behind their back, they're not going to have Breece Hall in this game, make Zach Wilson beat us. And Zach Wilson probably not going to be able to do that. So a low total, 37, 38.5 in some spots. So I don't know. The only way I would look in this game is towards New England, but apparently the sharps and the squares, the rhombuses, whatever you want to call them, like our guy Sherapan, they're all over this Jets team. I don't get it. Are there some maybe ways to exploit this New England team, or is this just one of those duct tape shoe plays that you're not understanding either?
No, this is an auto bet if you're a Patriots backer or a believer. I mean, the season's still on the line. If the Jets win this, they go to 7-3. The Patriots go to 5-5. It's adios amigos, and let's see what Zappy's got the rest of the year to see if we're going to move on from Mac Jones. Bill Belichick is usually they've won 4 out of the last 5, I think it is. Now they come into the bye. This is where they start to steamroll, and they know they got to travel to Minnesota, who could be 9-1 or 8-2 in a week. So, do I like the 3.5? No. Do I think I could get hooked? Maybe. The Vegas is telling you 21-17, somewhere in that area. I look at it from my perspective. If you got a team total, I don't think the Jets get to 17. I don't. So I think they're in that 10-13 range. They should be able to handcuff Zach Wilson. There's no Breece Hall, as you said. I think defensively the Pats will shine here. How do you bet this game? If you got a parlay, I would do a Pats money line, just win, baby. Tie it up with someone else that you like. I like the Jets team total, if it's 17, to be under. If you got a 17 and a hook, run to the window and bet it now. Bet the under. I don't think they get there. I don't think we're going to get any of that Buffalo snow, but it will be cold in Foxborough.
Yeah, I love it, Jeff. And I'm glad you backed up what I have kind of been thinking too. What the hell is this support in the marketplace? I think people are starting to buy back. Looking on this Wager Talk Live odds screen, we got 71% of the money on New England. So I don't know. Maybe they were trying to inflate the line, get a little buyback, but the fact there was all that support and it didn't budge at all told me all that I need to know. So before I run out of here, I got to let you know, Jeff, we'll be talking a lot coming this February because the Premier Lacrosse League has just announced their championship series. It's going to be from February 22nd to February 26th. So, a solid weekend plus of lacrosse action, and they're doing it sixes style. So it's going to be way faster paced. They brought in the 3-point arc. These are going to be, or 2-point arc, excuse me. It's going to be higher scoring games, only 6 players on the field, no face-offs except the start quarters, start halves. After the goal is scored, the goalie clears it out and the ball's going the other way. It's going to be a new fun way for lacrosse. Also, it'll be a chance to get a peek at what the lacrosse will look like in the upcoming Olympics. That's right. Lacrosse is going to be in the Olympics, Jeff. So we're going to have some money-making option fading some teams that probably shouldn't even be representing their nation in lacrosse. But the way that it's played is a sixes format. So it's all short sticks, 6 players on the field, fast up and back, quickly paced action. So it's different than what you've come accustomed to when we've been talking Premier Lacrosse League. It's going to be a fun one coming up this February in Washington, D.C., the 26th or the 22nd to the 26th. So we'll need to get a preview show leading up to that one, Jeff.
100%. My assumption would be that there's a good possibility you might be there.
Yeah, you're probably right. Now, I was hoping and holding out hope. There were some whispers that this might be held in Las Vegas. A little bit bummed that it's going to be in Washington, D.C. It's going to be pretty damn cold in February if you know how things go here on the East Coast. But I probably will be making a trip down there. You know, I can't keep myself away from lacrosse for too long, Jeff. I start breaking out in hives. I start itching. So knowing that lacrosse is going to be back, it's going to be exciting. So I'll probably, make the trip down, brave that horrible DC traffic just to see a little bit of lacrosse. But we'll get some people, some money makers in the doldrums following the NFL season.
I know you got to go. We can't thank you enough. I have to ask you one question. What is the word on the street with the news yesterday of Bryce Harper?
The word on the street is, Jeff, I'm glad we made it to the World Series when we did because it don't sound good. They're not going to come out and say it's Tommy John surgery, but anytime you have a player who was injured all year long having elbow surgery that's saying it's going to hold him out for the beginning of the season, you automatically assume the worst. I mean, the Phillies are going to be big players here in the free agent market. I hear talks about, Trey Turner making his way here. They're looking at some relievers, some starting pitching as well. So I'm going to try and focus on the positives moves that the Phillies can make, because the only time that you'll see Bryce Harper is as the DH next coming season, and that probably won't be until after the All-Star break, if that, Jeff. It's not sounding good with Bryce Harper, but we had a pretty damn fun run that none of us saw coming. You never know when your run to the World Series is going to come. So I'll take what we got. I'll take the fun that we had, because you go another half of a season plus without Bryce Harper. I don't know if they're going to be in that same position next year, man.
And I'm unfortunately hearing that you are tied to Xander Bogaerts, and I'm hearing from some good sources that if he doesn't come back to Boston, he's going to be a Philly, which to me shocks me because the Cardinals wanted him desperately so bad. So if you can go in and swoop him up, God bless you. The nicest guy on and off the field. He's a great clubhouse guy, and it would be a big feather in your cap. I know Trey Turner's a 5'2" guy, but Xander's a pretty damn good shortstop as well.
I'll take them all. I'll take them all, Jeff. The answer is yes. Let's pull out the change purse. Let's bring them all to Philly, and maybe we'll be dancing on our own again in the future. But without Bryce Harper, I think that's what we got to do, is focus on bringing some of these players like Bogaerts to town, because we need something to feel good about, because I think the depression, Eagles lose, and then 2 days after we hear that Bryce Harper needs elbow surgery, man, talk about kicking people when they're down, Jeff. Jeez.
The scroll has been going the whole time, Dan, at Newbie Talks, at Bet on Lacrosse, at the Cash Consideration Show, obviously at Wager Talk, 83 AM WEEU, at Premier Lacrosse. Tell them where to find you, your podcasts, your shows, and everything, and we'll get you right out of here.
We're recording Cash Considerations this evening, so it's going to be a great one. We got our man Tony back on the show this week, so unanimous picks went well last week. We're hoping it happens again. Best way to find everything that I'm doing, which is a hell of a lot. It's not as much as our guy Sherapan, but I'm giving him a run for my money. I might end up with a head looking like his when all is said and done here. Follow me on Twitter at Newbie Talks, all socials, TikTok, Instagram. You just search Newbie Talks. You're going to find me there. Always posting content. If you like eating food as well, I could throw down in the kitchen a little bit too, and post videos on that. So hit me with a follow at Newbie Talks, and I'm only a DM away. DM's always open if you want to reach out. You have any questions? What I'm seeing in the marketplace, how you can get involved. We're always chatting. We're always doing things. So if you follow me on Twitter or any social media at Newbie Talks, that's the best way. And Jeff, I'm always just a DM away.
We can't thank you enough. Again, we bet the over 30 minutes. We're heading to 39 minutes. Tell the boys I said hello, and wish you nothing but the best, and have a great evening, sir.
Absolutely, man. Always take the over when me and JD are on, brother. Appreciate you.
The one and only Dan Alexander. Follow him at Newbie Talks. Myself, Jeff Dawson, ADC Sports Invest. The closing bell coming in 45 minutes. Stay tuned.